Hello, I'm Janet Morena, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. Well, here we are, beginning of February, and of course, there's a lot of buzz going on that in another day or two, the opening of the Olympics, the Winter Olympics is happening. Now, normally, I love the Olympics. Normally, I especially look forward to the skating and the downhill skiing and all the different and the snowboarding and different things. I actually love the Winter Olympics better than the Summer Olympics. But this year, I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed because the Olympics are going to be in Beijing, China. And joining me today is a very dear friend of mine who has been working in China for a very long time to help talk about their abortion policy and how little baby girls are being aborted. It's a girl is the dangerous words to say in China, and widows are in danger in China. And there's other people that are in China that are so oppressed by the Chinese government. So we're going to be talking today about what's really going on in China and why we should not have had the Olympics in China. So joining me today is the president and founder of Women's Rights Without Frontiers, my dear friend, Reggie Little John. Reggie, welcome to the program.
Hello, Janet. It's so great to see you, even if only, over the television. It's always, and yes, you are a very dear friend. Much love to you, Janet.
All right. So now, like I just told everybody, you have been working in China for how long? And just build for us a little bit about the atrocities going on in China.
Well, it's been a very long time. If you count my time as an attorney, I was an attorney for like 8 years. Complex commercial litigator, but I represented refugees in China, including a woman who had been forcibly sterilized. And this was in the mid-90s. That's when I found out that the Chinese propaganda that the one-child policy was voluntary was just a big lie. And then it was enforced through forced abortion, forced sterilization, and infanticide. And later I founded Women's Rights Without Frontiers to stop forced abortion in China under the one-child policy, which has since become the two-child policy, now the three-child policy. But the new rule in China is very simply that every couple is allowed to have 3 children, which means that if you're not part of a couple, if you're not married, it's still illegal to have a baby. And 4th children are illegal. So we still have continuing forced abortion in China. And the worst forced abortion in China at the moment is in Xinjiang province among the Uyghur Muslims. So China has been officially declared to be committing genocide against the Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims and minorities in Xinjiang. What does that mean? It means that the Chinese Communist Party is deliberately attempting to destroy in whole or in part the Uyghur people. And they're doing it through rampant forced abortion, forced sterilization, infanticide, killing babies after they're born, systematic rape, torture. They have between 1 and 3 million people in what basically amounts to concentration camps. They have forced labor. They have organ harvesting, forced organ harvesting. I mean, the atrocities are beyond the imagination of us in the West. And as you said, the Chinese Communist Party has absolutely no business hosting the most prestigious event in the world, which is the Olympic Games. They're just going to use it as a way of promoting their regime and giving the impression that they are just a great government and that there's nothing that can be further from the truth.
Well, and you did a really good job of exposing this. I know Congressman Chris Smith he's done a lot of work over the decades trying to expose China for what they are. But tell us, what was some of the steps you were trying to do? We were trying to get the games taken away from China, weren't you?
Yes, Janet. Last May, I testified before Congress. It was a huge hearing. It was both houses. It was 2 different congressional committees. Congressman Chris Smith was the one who called the hearing. And what we were saying is these games need to be moved or boycotted. So the games in Tokyo, the summer games, were delayed for a year because of COVID. There's no reason that the games in China could not have been delayed for a year because of genocide. And at that time, in that hearing, as an attorney, I gave the opinion that the United States and 151 other countries around the world are signatories to the Genocide Convention. And what that does is it obligates us under international treaty law to punish those who are committing genocide.
You mean the Geneva Convention, right?
No, I'm not talking about the Geneva. There's another convention. There's another convention. It's called the Genocide Convention.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that. See,
yeah,
we don't know about these things.
Yeah. And so, anyway, we're obligated to take steps to prevent and punish genocide. Wow. And yet, what the United States has done is a diplomatic boycott. And that's along with Canada, the UK, and I think Australia. There's a number of other countries, not very many, not enough, who are doing diplomatic boycotts. All that means is that we're not sending our senior officials to the games. And it was so interesting in this hearing. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, actually testified as a witness. I don't know when that has happened. It's very, very rare. But she was saying, our diplomats really can't go to Beijing because how can they sit there and watch these games when they know that at that very moment, the government hosting the games is committing genocide? Okay, she said that. Well, the same is true for the athletes. How can you do your beautiful ice dance or concentrate on your downhill skiing or what have you when at that very moment, the government that is hosting those games is committing genocide in Xinjiang, along with all the other atrocities. I mean, the genocide is horrific. But Janet, you know very well, and your listeners know that China has actually boasted that they have prevented 400 million lives through the one-child policy, and that the vast majority of those were done through forced abortions and forced sterilizations. That number, 400 million, is greater than the entire population of the United States and Canada combined. They are persecuting Christians, including Catholics, tearing down Marian shrines, demolishing churches. They punish the Tibetan Buddhists, the Uyghur Muslims. Of course, there's a genocide going on there. Falun Gong, any religion. Anyone who believes that there is a higher power, a God that is above the Chinese Communist Party, is a threat to the Chinese Communist Party, and they are persecuting them. And the list goes on and on. Forced organ harvesting. I mean, so all of these things are happening, and under the under the Genocide Convention, we are obligated to punish them, and we're not punishing them.
Well, okay, so now, Reggie, we did this whole petition. I know I had my viewers sign the petition, right? We did a big push last summer. I know we were pushing hard. And what I was explaining to people is when the Olympics, when countries, put a proposal to say, choose us for the Olympics, there's usually a first place, second place, third place, and the committee comes up with and awards the games to so-and-so. So what I was promoting was, okay, China was first choice. So who was the second choice? Just move it to the second choice country. I thought that could have been like an easy fix. Okay, so now they didn't do it. 2 days from now, these games are going to start in Beijing. So all of us who signed the petition, the reason I'm asking you, Reggie, is like, okay, what should we do? I mean, I could not watch the games is what I'm going to do. But how can we make that not watching the games, our voice be heard in a louder way to say, I object. I object. Look at the horrific things happening in China. And I feel very sorry for the athletes that worked years to get there. But for goodness sakes, I can't just turn a blind eye to the atrocities. So what should our message be? Like, what should we do? Or give me some suggestions.
Well, Janet, I understand your frustration, and believe me, I share it, and I have devoted so much of my life to trying to stop these games and get the message out. So I understand what you're saying, and what I try to take to heart is what Mother Teresa said, is that God calls us not to be successful, he calls us to be faithful. And you and I and everybody else listening to this, God is calling us to be faithful to him, even if we're not successful, if you define success as actually stopping the games. Now, what you're saying about not watching the games is an important first step, because what these the sponsors of the games are counting on is advertising revenues from millions and millions of people watching the games. And so if nobody watches the games, they're going to lose money, and maybe they will learn a lesson like, don't have the games in a country that is actively committing genocide. But on top of that, if you want to know things that you can do, okay, we have a website. It's called genocidegames.org, genocidegames.org. And there's a couple things that you can do. One is we've got this thing called Align Act. That's the platform, but you can sign up to send emails to the entire Olympics Committee, all of the sponsors of the games, various politicians. It's really easy. It's a very powerful tool. It's a new tool. And there's like a model letter. You just click on it, and then it will go send emails to the personal email addresses of all these powerful people. And so if we flood their inboxes with protests, that will hopefully get their attention. Another thing is that on our website, genocidegames.org, we have a campaign where you can like copy a meme off of our campaign page and tweet it and try to make the hashtag Genocide Games go viral. So that's another thing. But Janet, you mentioned that you feel sorry for the athletes. I feel sorry for the athletes. Gosh, the sponsors say, well, we stand by our athletes. I'll tell you what I would feel like if they standing by me as an athlete. If I were an Olympic athlete, I would not want to be going to Beijing forced to commit to compete on soil that is flowing with the blood of genocide and 400 million forcibly aborted babies. I would have wanted the games to be moved so that I could feel proud or happy at whatever country I was competing in.
Right.
And not that, but also there's a question of the safety of the athletes. All right. So China is experiencing an outbreak of coronavirus right now. And they also have something called hemorrhagic fever, which is a horrific condition that they're also experiencing an outbreak of. And so are the athletes going to be safe? Number one. And number two, when the athletes go to China, they're going to be sequestered in this Olympic village and Olympic venue bubble that you can't get out of. They're going to be completely sealed off. And the purpose of that sealing off is to try to, if there's an outbreak, in mainland China, it will not get into the bubble. Well, number one, there's already an outbreak inside of the bubble. And so that's number one. But number two, when an athlete or a staff member or a journalist goes inside of that bubble, they are in the complete control of the Chinese Communist Party, and they are going to be surveilled. So
Reggie, that's what people don't realize. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think back, when I was a kid, there was Russia, and they used to have Radio Free Europe trying to get the message out to these people because, communist Russia, communist China, they controlled the messaging. They wouldn't let people hear the truth. And so what people have to realize, that's still happening today in China. They are controlling what the people can see on TV, on Chinese TV, what they can hear on the radio. And now I've even heard that they are even controlling the internet and the World Web, that you just can't in China set up a website and have this freedom. It is controlled. And if you're putting anything up there that is contrary to the communist government, they will find you and you will be like thrown in a prison and tortured and everything else. It's true, right, Reggie? This is still happening, right?
Well, see, yes. Oh, yes. It's very much happening. And it's worse than it was, decades ago during the Cold War, because they have much more powerful surveillance capacity.
Tools. Yeah.
Tools. But so listen, so you're talking about what's happening in mainland China. But what people need to understand is it's happening in this bubble that is the Olympic Village. So I'm holding an article here from the Guardian. It's called "The Surveillance Concerns Around China's Winter Olympics App." So what they're doing is they are attempting to force all the athletes, the journalists, everybody else, the staff, whoever coaches, all have to have this app inside of the Olympic Village, and they're using it as a quote unquote health app, right? But governments are telling their athletes not to sign up for the app, or if they're forced to sign up for the app, they're telling everybody, don't bring your laptop, don't bring your personal phone, buy a burner phone that is only for use in China, because this app is not encrypted, and you can have all of your information for your laptop, for example. I mean, why would anybody trust the Wi-Fi that's there? You know, all of their contacts, all of their emails, all of their anything that's on their laptop, anything that's on their phone could be just disclosed to the Chinese Communist Party. And they China, they surveil their citizens. They've got real-time geolocation, so they know where every single person is at every moment. They've got facial recognition. They surveil your internet use, your everything you send, every email you send, every social media post, all of your internet searches. So even in the Olympic Village, they've got something called illegal words. Okay, in America, we've never heard of an illegal word. They have illegal words, and if you use one of these illegal words, you can get in trouble. So I'm looking at this right now.
Oh, okay. Come on, Reggie. I want to know, what are some illegal words? What are some of the words?
Oh, I will tell you. I will tell you what the illegal words are. Okay. So right now, Citizen Lab, so they're the ones who are analyzing this, so that there's a list of 2,422 political keywords described in the app's code base as illegal words.txt. And so the function is to censor these words, and they don't appear to be active. And so some of the words are Tiananmen. Don't say Tiananmen, all right?
No, that's because it's Tiananmen Square.
Right. But it's an illegal word. People who are athletes or people who are from foreign countries are not going to know that Tiananmen is like an illegal word in China. You can't use the word Uyghur or Holy Quran or injections. I guess they mean vaccines. You can't even use the word injection. And forced demolitions. Now, that's an interesting illegal word, forced demolitions. Why is that illegal? Most people have never even heard of a forced demolition. Well, I'll tell you that in China, they will force people out of their homes and demolish them to build, for example, the Olympic Village. Now, I'm not sure if that happened in this one, but I know it happened in the 2008 Olympics.
Wait, Reggie. In the 2008 Olympics, in order to build, like you just said, the Olympic Village, they actually forced people out of their homes and bulldozed them down?
They
took over their homes?
According to my recollection, yes, that is what happened. Now, I didn't know we were going to talk about that, so I don't have chapter and verse for that.
No, that's okay. I just find it so shocking.
Yeah. I mean, but why else would they have forced demolitions as an illegal word? That's kind of crazy. It says here that governments are advising their athletes to leave their phones at home and use burner phones. And so my question is, if you can't even bring your phone into a country, because they're going to steal your information, why would you want to compete there? I feel sorry for the athletes. The Olympics never should have been scheduled for Beijing to begin with.
Right.
And then, this happened, I understand, back in 2015. Well, I understand, in 2008, they had the Summer Olympics in Beijing, and China promised that they would improve on the human rights record. They haven't improved at all. And in fact, are now committing genocide.
Right.
Quite the opposite. And so, I think that after it was approved in 2015, when they saw that they were officially declared as having committed genocide, that they should have said, wait a minute, let's put a pause on this here. Let's rethink this and move the games to a country that is not actively committing genocide.
Unbelievable. Well, I am definitely going to go to the Genocide Olympics right? You said,
No,
Reggie?
no, genocidegames.org.
Games. Okay,
Genocidegames.org.
genocidegames.org. I'm gonna do that and send out those letters because you're right. That's what gets the attention is the sponsors. Because I don't know who they are, but let's say Adidas. I know in the past they have always sponsored Olympic Games, because of their sneakers and their clothing, and Nike is another one. Well, heck, if they get thousands and thousands and thousands of emails saying we object to the games being there, and I'm not going to buy Nike now or Adidas or whoever it is, fill in the blank. That will send a little bit of, I think, shake them up a little bit because they don't need negative press like that or
Right.
want it. So we're going to definitely follow up on that. And then I just want to cover quickly because everyone, I think they've heard of your work with It's a Girl, the most dangerous words we can say in China, because what people have to understand is with this now 2 and 3 child policy, what happens here is if a woman is like, let's say the family already has one girl and now they're pregnant again, and now they have the second child as a girl. Well, what's going to happen now? What do they want next for the third and final child? They want a boy, right, Reggie?
Well,
And
yeah, right.
but
So
if it's a girl again, they're going to keep aborting, right, until they get the boy. Is that kind of like what's happening?
So this is the thing. People say, "Oh, it's a 3-child policy. Now they can have as many kids. There are three children." But what happens is, if the first child is number one, most people do not want to have a third child. In fact, most people do not even want to have a second child, believe it or not. And this has to do with the Chinese Communist Party just pounding into people's heads, one child, one child, one child. And it also has to do with the fact that it's very expensive to raise a kid in China. So even if they have a 3-child policy, most people don't want a third child. Most people don't even want a second child. So if the first child is a girl, they might be willing to have a second child if that second child is a boy. And so, again, you get into situations where people are either aborting if the second baby is a girl, or they are wanting to give her away. So that can mean finding a family that is childless or whatever. But what our organization does is we're the only organization in the world that has boots on the ground inside of China that is actively saving baby girls from gendercide, meaning either being aborted or abandoned or given away, and also in just extreme poverty. And the area that we're in is a farming area, and it was hit really hard, and it continues to be hit hard when there are waves of coronavirus that come in and they have lockdowns, because what can happen is the family is barely scraping by as it is. And then just as their fruit or their vegetables are ready to go to market, there's a lockdown and there's no trucks. And so it just rots, and then they have no money, and then they are in really desperate straits. So we are helping families stay together, helping it so that a lot of the women in China can't nurse because I guess it's stress related, or maybe they don't have enough food, so their body's not producing breast milk. So we have a number of families where we are providing money every month, and that helps the mother buy milk for her baby. And then also abandoned widows, that people don't realize that in China, that traditional Chinese society, people would depend in their old age on large families to support them. And now, because of the 1-child policy, they don't have a large family to support them, so they have no support. And there's just alarming numbers of elderly in the Chinese countryside are committing suicide, especially women in the Chinese countryside. So we are going to them with, just like we do with the girls' families, we offer them $25 a month to the girls' families to enable them, to empower them to keep their daughter and to keep their daughter healthy. And we do the same thing for the widows, that helps them eat better, maybe heat their little room during the winter, and just be somebody that is a loving presence that visits them every month that they don't have otherwise.
So Reggie, I mean, that sounds amazing. $25. I mean, if I donated to your ministry, $25 a month, made a commitment, I'm at least helping one baby girl or one widow. So what website can they go to where they could get involved and maybe make a donation to help save a baby girl or save a widow?
Oh, thank you for asking. So our website is womensrightswithoutfrontiers.org. That's womensrightswithoutfrontiers.org. And if you go on to the homepage, then up on the right, there are two bright red buttons, and one says Save a Girl and the other says Save a Widow. And in those, if you click those, both of those have a wonderful video, just 3 minutes, where you'll see the actual faces of some of the babies that we're saving or some of the widows that we're saving, and learn more about the program. And then also you can just donate to the program. It's very easy.
That's great. Well, I really hope everyone does that, because when you think about it, you know, how many of us go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or grab pizza and stuff like that? So, you know what? Maybe make your coffee at home, and the money you save, you could be saving a little girl or a widow in China. And, you know, and also just, we only have about a minute left, Reggie, but the people you have boots on the ground there, they're doing this at a great risk, aren't they?
Oh, yes. These are some of the bravest people around. So our field workers, people say, you know, what do you do when you have clashes with the authorities? We've never had a clash with the authorities. Thank God. And please pray for God to continue to protect our field workers, because they are risking their freedom every day by going out and getting these stipends into the hands of these the mothers of the babies and also the widows. Very, very brave people.
Well, Reggie, God bless you and all your field workers. We're going to pray, and I'm praying that more people will support your work, and we're all going to send those emails to the sponsors about this whole Olympic catastrophe. And I'm going to shut it off. I'm not going to watch any Olympics this season, sadly so, but I am not going to do it, and I am going to go there, and I'm going to send those letters. So thank you for joining me, Reggie.
Thank you so much for having me, Janet.
God bless.
God bless.
Well, brothers and sisters, you can get involved now. A lot of to-do homework here, a lot of homework to do. Go to Reggie's website, womensrightswithoutfrontiers.org. Those two don't, you want to save a widow, or you want to save it's a girl, or maybe you'll save both. And you'll donate and make a contribution, because this is really worthwhile. I can't believe, you know, with a little bit amount of money, so much good can happen. And also, too, let's get those emails going and boycott these games, because it's just a pity that we still had to have the games in communist China. So thank you for joining me on Just Ask Janet. Until next time, God bless. I will be silent no more.